Let's be real. If you're a cybersecurity leader, you've probably felt like you're shouting into the void, trying to get your voice heard in the boardroom. For years, security was seen as just an IT problem, right? Something to be sorted out in the server room. Well, that era is completely over. Today, cybersecurity is a massive business risk, and CISOs are being pulled from the background right into the spotlight. The only problem? The old playbook, the old way of doing things, it just doesn't work anymore.
And you know, this quote from Gartner just hits the nail on the head. The real challenge today isn't just about having the flashiest firewalls or the absolute best threat intelligence. It's about being a translator. It's about taking that super complex technical world and turning it into a language the rest of the business can actually understand, get behind, and most importantly, invest in.
And the stakes, they could not be higher. Get this. A recent Gartner survey found that a whopping 84% of board directors now see cybersecurity as a serious business risk. We're talking right up there with the big ones, like financial and operational risks. So the C-suite is finally paying attention. They know what's on the line. But, and this is a big but, here's where things get kind of weird. While awareness is at an all-time high, their confidence is, well, it's shockingly low. That same survey showed that only 28% of those directors feel confident in their ability to handle it. So what gives? What's causing this huge gap between knowing there's a fire and feeling like you have a fire extinguisher that works? Okay, so let's really dive into this. We're calling this the new battlefield, because honestly, the whole landscape has changed. The old ways of thinking about security, as this walled-off, compliance-first function, they're not just outdated anymore. They're actively making things worse in today's fast-moving business world. So many security programs are just stuck in this current state. First, they're operating in their own little silo, totally disconnected from what the business is actually trying to achieve. Then, their approach is all about ticking compliance boxes, which leaves them wide open to new, creative threats. They have this chaotic, knee-jerk reaction to amazing new tech like Gen AI, creating risk instead of opportunity. They run these so-called awareness campaigns that, let's be honest, don't actually change how anyone behaves. And finally, they've got this tangled mess of tools that do the same thing, which is just a huge waste of money and creates so much complexity. Every single one of these is a crack in the armor. So, how do we fix this whole mess? We need a new playbook. And the very first play, the most critical one, is this: align with the business. This is all about breaking out of that IT silo and building a strategy that everyone, from your top engineers all the way up to your CEO, can actually understand and get behind. And that right there brings us to the million-dollar question for any CISO. How in the world do you walk into a boardroom, a room full of non-technical executives, and get them to truly get the risks the company is facing, and then open up the checkbook for what you need? The answer is, well, it sounds simple, but it's a game changer. You stop talking about vulnerabilities, patches, and threat vectors. You start talking their language. You talk about what they really care about: profit, market share, keeping the lights on, and making shareholders happy. You have to translate technical risk into real-world business outcomes. And maybe the single best tool for this job is something called the strategy on a page. Now, this is not your 100-page technical document that puts everyone to sleep. No, this is a powerful one-page summary that's designed to be understood in like 30 seconds. It draws a straight line from the company's biggest goals to the specific security work needed to protect them. And building it actually forces you to think clearly. First, you start with the business context. You have to know where the company is trying to go before you can protect it on the journey. Second, you pinpoint the top cyber risks that could actually stop you from getting there. Just the big stuff, no fluff. And third, you lay out the exact security objectives that will shut down those risks. It's a simple, logical flow that makes sure every single thing you do is tied to a business priority. All right, let's move on. Play number 2. Look, having a brilliant strategy on paper is a fantastic start, but it's completely useless if it just falls apart the second things get real. That's why the second play is all about practice. You have to prepare for a crisis before it ever hits. The goal here isn't just to have some crisis plan gathering dust on a shelf. It's about building what the experts call muscle memory. Through realistic hands-on practice, your teams start to develop these confident, almost automatic responses they need to navigate the pure chaos of a real incident. Grant Thornton UK actually has a fantastic model for this. They use a 3-tiered approach. So at the very top, you've got C-suite tabletops, where the leaders practice making those huge strategic calls under pressure. In the middle, you've got multi-team scenarios that force departments like legal, marketing, and IT to actually work together. And at the base, you have your function-specific drills, where the technical teams rehearse their specific jobs over and over. This builds resilience at every single level of the company. And I love this quote from Jody Promotes at Grant Thornton because it perfectly explains why this is so important. A crisis response can't depend on just one person being a hero. This kind of tiered practice builds a deep bench of people who are ready and confident, making sure that no matter who's on call when that alarm goes off, the team knows exactly what to do. Okay, on to our third and final play. Measure what matters. So once you have that business-aligned strategy and you've pressure-tested your response plan, you've got to prove it's actually working. This is how you justify your budget, show your progress, and earn that continued investment from leadership you fought so hard for back in Play 1. I know it's an old business saying, but it has never been more true for cybersecurity. If you don't have clear metrics, you are just flying blind. You can't show your value, you can't see where you need to get better, and you're going to have a really hard time defending your budget when someone comes looking to make cuts. So to fix this, Gartner developed a framework of 25 core outcome-driven metrics, or ODMs. What's so brilliant about these is that they're designed to completely shift the conversation. You stop measuring just technical activity, like how many alerts did we process, and you start measuring business value and how much protection you're actually providing. The whole idea behind ODMs is this super simple but really powerful comparison. You measure your actual performance, which is where you are right now, and you put it right next to your desired performance, the target level of protection that the business has agreed it needs. That gap right there tells a crystal clear, data-driven story. It lets you walk into that boardroom and say, look, here's the protection you're getting for what you're spending now, and here's exactly what it would cost to get us to where we all agree we need to be. Let's look at a couple of quick examples. So instead of just tracking the total number of vulnerabilities, you measure the percentage of critical ones you patched on time. Instead of just counting incidents, you measure the average time it takes to actually fix them. And you track the percentage of employees who are passing phishing tests to see if your training is actually, working. These are metrics that tell a story of resilience. So when you bring these three plays together, align, practice, and measure, you're not just putting out fires. You're building the foundation for a totally different and way more powerful kind of cybersecurity program. You're building for the future. And this is what that future state really looks like. Security isn't seen as a roadblock anymore. It's a business enabler that lets the company innovate safely. Your program isn't static. It's dynamic. It's adaptive. It evolves. New tech is adopted safely and strategically, not in a panic. Your employees are active players in a real security culture. And your tools are lean, effective, and optimized. This is what security as a strategic partner looks like. And that really just leaves us with one final question to think about. In today's world, is your cybersecurity program just a shield, a necessary cost you have to pay? Or have you figured out how to turn it into a competitive advantage, a source of trust, a source of resilience, and a true enabler of growth? The modern playbook shows us it can be and absolutely should be the latter.